Brothers and sisters, my dear friends, how many of us are tired not because we worked too hard, but because we thought too much? How many nights have passed where your body was resting, but your mind was running a marathon? You replay conversations that are already over. You fear situations that have not yet arrived. And slowly, silently, overthinking begins to rob you of your joy, your focus, and even your faith in yourself. You see, overthinking is a quiet destroyer. It does not announce itself loudly. It whispers. It tells you what if again and again until you begin to doubt decisions you haven't even made yet. It convinces you that every door is a danger, every pause is a failure, and every delay is a disaster. And before you realize it, you are living everywhere except in the present moment where life is actually happening. But understand this, most of the things you worry about never happen. And the ones that do happen are never as heavy as the fear you carried for weeks or months. Your mind was not created to be a prison. It was created to be a place of reflection, gratitude, and clarity. When you overload it with imagined futures and unresolved pasts, you suffocate your own peace. Today is a reminder that peace does not come from controlling every outcome. Peace comes from trusting the journey, doing your best, and letting go of what was never in your hands to begin with. You were not created to carry the weight of the entire world on your shoulders. You were created to walk forward, one step at a time, with purpose, patience, and hope. And the moment you learn to release what you cannot control, you will finally begin to breathe again. Overthinking steals your peace by pulling your mind away from where life actually exists. Peace is found in the present moment. Yet overthinking lives in two places that no longer belong to you or have not yet arrived: the past and the future. When your thoughts constantly travel backwards, you relive mistakes that cannot be changed. When they rush forward, you fear outcomes that are not guaranteed. In both cases, you are absent from the only moment where you have power, clarity, and control. Now, think about this carefully. The past is a place of lessons, not a place of residence. Yet overthinking convinces you to move in permanently. It reminds you of words you wish you had said differently, decisions you wish you had changed, and moments you wish you could relive. It magnifies regrets until they feel larger than the reality itself. You begin to define yourself by a version of you that no longer exists. And slowly, guilt replaces growth. Shame replaces learning, and sadness replaces wisdom. But what benefit does this bring? You cannot rewrite yesterday, no matter how many times you replay it in your mind. The only thing replaying the past does is reopen wounds that were meant to heal. Then there is the future. Overthinking paints the future as a place full of danger, failure, and disappointment. It asks you endless questions. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if everything goes wrong? And because the future is unknown, your mind fills the gaps with fear instead of faith. You suffer not from what is happening, but from what might happen. You exhaust yourself emotionally today over a problem that may never even knock on your door tomorrow. This is why many people feel tired without doing much. Their minds have been carrying imaginary burdens all day long. Understand this truth: fear feels real, but it is not always truthful. Your mind is powerful, but without discipline, it can become your greatest source of distress. Overthinking tricks you into believing that worrying is preparation, that anxiety is responsibility, and that mental chaos is a sign of intelligence. But constant worry does not protect you, it paralyzes you. It does not solve problems, it multiplies them. It does not make you strong, it drains your emotional strength until even small tasks feel overwhelming. Peace begins when you realize that not every thought deserves your attention. Just because a thought enters your mind does not mean it deserves to stay. The mind produces thousands of thoughts daily, many of them negative, irrational, or exaggerated. If you cling to every one of them, you will drown. Learning to let thoughts pass without attachment is not weakness, it is maturity. It is understanding that you are not your thoughts, You are the one who observes them. When you anchor yourself in the present, something powerful happens. You begin to deal with reality instead of imagination. Reality is often far more manageable than the stories your mind creates. In the present moment, you can breathe, make a decision, take a step, or choose patience. In the present moment, you can say, I will do what I can today, and I will leave tomorrow for tomorrow. This mindset lightens the heart. It restores balance. It replaces panic with purpose. Overthinking also steals peace by making you believe you must control everything. You want certainty before taking a step. You want guarantees before trusting the process. But life was never designed to offer complete certainty. If certainty were required for peace, no one would ever be peaceful. Peace comes from accepting that some things are beyond your control. And that's surrendering. Control does not mean giving up. It means trusting that not everything depends on you. There is a difference between thinking and overthinking. Thinking is productive, it leads to action. Overthinking is destructive, it leads to hesitation. Thinking asks, what can I do? Overthinking asks, what if everything goes wrong? One moves you forward, the other keeps you stuck. Many opportunities are missed, not because people are incapable, but because they are trapped in their own thoughts, waiting for a perfect moment that never arrives. When you learn to quiet your mind, you create space for clarity, and clarity brings peace. You begin to understand that you were never meant to have all the answers at once. Life unfolds step by step, lesson by lesson. The calm person is not the one who has no problems, but the one who refuses to let problems occupy every corner of their mind. Peace is not found by eliminating challenges. It is found by managing your response to them. When you stop overthinking, you stop fighting battles that do not exist. You stop punishing yourself for things you cannot change. You stop borrowing pain from a future that has not yet happened. And in doing so, you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your emotional strength. So remind yourself daily, stay present. Learn from the past, prepare for the future, but live in the now. Breathe where your feet are. Deal with what is in front of you, not what your mind invents. Because the moment you stop overthinking is the moment peace finally has space to enter your life. Fear and imagined outcomes often feel heavier than real problems because the mind has the ability to exaggerate what does not yet exist. A real problem has a shape, a boundary, and a beginning and end. You can face it, analyze it, and take steps to resolve it. But an imagined problem has no limits. It grows the more you think about it. It feeds on uncertainty, and the more attention you give it, the more powerful it becomes. This is why many people feel crushed by situations they have not even encountered yet. The human mind is designed to protect you, but when fear takes control, protection turns into paralysis. Fear tells you that danger is everywhere, that failure is inevitable, and that pain is guaranteed. It convinces you that preparing for the worst means expecting the worst. But living in constant expectation of disaster does not make you prepared. It makes you exhausted. You carry emotional weight long before it is ever required of you. And by the time the real challenge arrives, you are already drained. Imagined outcomes are dangerous because they feel real in the body. Your heart races, your chest tightens, your sleep is disturbed, and your peace disappears, all because of scenarios that exist only in your thoughts. Your body reacts as if the threat is present, even when it is not. This means you suffer twice. Once in your imagination, and once, if it ever happens, in reality. And most of the time, the imagined suffering is far worse than the real experience could ever be. Fear also distorts perspective. It takes a small possibility and presents it as an absolute certainty. A single negative thought becomes a guaranteed outcome. One mistake becomes a lifelong failure. One rejection becomes proof that you are not good enough. Fear never shows you the full picture. It only highlights the worst corner of it. And when you stare at that corner for too long, you forget that the rest of the picture even exists. Think about how many times you feared a conversation, a decision, or a change, only to realize later that it was not as bad as you imagined. In fact, sometimes it was easier, sometimes it was manageable, and sometimes it even led to growth. Yet despite this repeated evidence, fear still convinces you that this time will be different. This is the deception of imagined outcomes. They ignore your past resilience and underestimate your strength. Real problems demand solutions. Imagined problems demand attention, and the mind, when left unchecked, will gladly give attention to fear because fear feels urgent. It feels important. It feels like something you must solve immediately. But urgency does not always mean importance. Many thoughts that scream the loudest are the ones that deserve the least amount of attention. Fear also steals your ability to trust. Trust yourself, trust the process, and trust that things can work out, even if they do not go exactly as planned. When fear dominates, you begin to believe that if you cannot predict the outcome, you should not take the step. But life has never worked that way. Growth requires uncertainty. Every meaningful step forward comes with unknowns. If certainty were required, no one would ever move forward. Imagined outcomes also isolate you. You withdraw, you hesitate, you delay, you replay scenarios in your mind instead of engaging with the world. Opportunities pass, not because you were incapable, but because you were busy fighting battles in your head. Fear convinces you that avoiding pain is safer than risking discomfort, but avoidance slowly shrinks your world. What begins as self-protection ends as self-imprisonment. There is a powerful truth you must remember. Fear is not proof. Just because you feel afraid does not mean something bad will happen. Fear is an emotion, not a prophecy. It is a signal, not a verdict. And like all emotions, it rises and falls if you do not cling to it. When you observe fear without obeying it, it loses its grip over you. Real strength is not the absence of fear. It is the decision not to let fear make your choices. Courage is not loud or dramatic. Sometimes courage is simply taking the next small step despite the noise in your mind. When you face reality instead of imagination, you often discover that you are far more capable than you give yourself credit for. The weight you feel is not always from the problem itself, but from the story you are telling yourself about it. Change the story, and the weight changes. Instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong? Ask, what if I can handle whatever comes? This shift does not deny difficulty, it acknowledges resilience. It reminds you that even if challenges arise, you are not powerless. When you stop feeding imagined outcomes, your mind becomes quieter. You begin to respond instead of react. You conserve your energy for what truly matters. And when a real problem does appear, you meet it with clarity rather than panic, with presence rather than fear. Fear may visit, but it does not have to stay. Imagined outcomes may appear, but they do not deserve authority over your life. The moment you stop treating every fearful thought as truth is the moment you reclaim your peace. Because the problems you face in reality are often lighter than the burdens you carry in your mind. Trust, clarity, and presence are powerful antidotes to the chaos created by overthinking, because they return the mind to balance and the heart to calm. Overthinking thrives where trust is weak, where clarity is absent, and where the mind is disconnected from the present moment. When these three elements are missing, the mind fills the gaps with worry, doubt, and fear. But when they are restored, the noise begins to fade, and inner peace slowly takes its place. Trust is the foundation. Without trust, the mind feels it must calculate every outcome, predict every danger, and prepare for every possible failure. You stop trusting yourself, your abilities, and even the journey of life itself. Overthinking often begins with a simple lack of trust. The belief that if you do not constantly worry, something will go wrong. But trust is not ignorance, and it is not carelessness. Trust is understanding that you have done your part, and that not everything is yours to control. When you trust, you release the need to mentally rehearse every scenario. You stop interrogating every decision long after it has been made. You accept that mistakes are part of growth and that uncertainty is part of life. Trust allows you to say, I will handle whatever comes when it comes, instead of exhausting yourself trying to handle everything in advance. This shift alone can feel like setting down a heavy burden you did not realize you were carrying. Clarity follows trust. Overthinking clouds judgment. It mixes facts with assumptions and turns possibilities into certainties. When your mind is noisy, everything feels urgent, everything feels complicated, and nothing feels clear. You struggle to distinguish between what truly matters and what is simply mental clutter. Clarity does not come from thinking more. It comes from thinking less, but thinking better. When clarity enters, you begin to separate reality from imagination. You ask yourself what is actually happening right now, instead of what could go wrong. You focus on facts, not fears. You simplify decisions instead of overanalyzing them. Many problems feel overwhelming only because they are tangled in unnecessary thoughts. Once you strip them down to their core, they often become manageable. Clarity also helps you understand your limits. Overthinking often stems from the false belief that you must do everything perfectly. Clarity reminds you that doing your best is enough. It teaches you that progress matters more than perfection and that peace matters more than control. When you are clear, you act with intention instead of hesitation. You move forward without constantly looking over your shoulder. Presence is where trust and clarity come alive. The present moment is the only place where life is actually happening. Yet, overthinking constantly pulls you away from it. Your body may be here, but your mind is somewhere else, replaying the past or worrying about the future. Presence anchors you. It brings you back to now, where your breath is steady, your feet are grounded, and your mind can finally rest. When you are present, your thoughts slow down. You are no longer chasing imagined problems. You are responding to what is in front of you. Presence does not mean your life suddenly becomes free of challenges. It means challenges no longer consume your entire mental space. You deal with what is necessary and release what is not. Presence also deepens awareness. You begin to notice how often your mind drifts into unnecessary worry. You catch yourself mid-thought and gently bring your attention back. This awareness is powerful. It gives you choice. Instead of being dragged by your thoughts, you become the one who decides where your attention goes. Trust, clarity, and presence work together. Trust quiets the fear of the unknown. Clarity organizes the mind and removes confusion. Presence grounds you in reality and restores calm. Together, they create a mental environment where overthinking cannot survive. Overthinking needs chaos to thrive. It needs doubt, confusion, and disconnection. When these are replaced with trust, clarity, and presence, the mind naturally settles. Many people believe peace comes from having everything figured out. In reality, peace comes from accepting that you do not need to have everything figured out at once. Trust allows you to take the next step without seeing the entire staircase. Clarity helps you choose that step wisely. Presence gives you the strength to take it fully and confidently. There will be moments when overthinking tries to return. This is normal. The goal is not to eliminate thoughts, but to change your relationship with them. When a fearful thought arises, trust reminds you that you are capable. Clarity helps you evaluate whether the thought is useful or unnecessary. Presence allows you to let it pass without attachment. Over time, this practice reshapes the mind. You become calmer, not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer at war with your own thoughts. You stop demanding certainty from an uncertain world. You stop punishing yourself for things beyond your control. You begin to live with intention rather than anxiety. Trust teaches you to release what you cannot hold. Clarity teaches you to focus on what truly matters. Presence teaches you to live fully where you are. These are not abstract ideas, they are daily practices. And when practiced consistently, they transform the mind from a place of noise into a place of peace. In this state, overthinking loses its power. The mind becomes a tool instead of a trap. And you realize that peace was never something you needed to chase, it was something you needed to allow. Letting go is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it is one of the strongest and wisest decisions a person can make. Overthinking convinces you that holding on tightly mentally and emotionally is the only way to protect yourself. It tells you that if you stop replaying, analyzing, and worrying, you will lose control. But true strength is not found in gripping harder. It's found in knowing when to release. When you refuse to let go, you carry weight that was never meant to be carried for so long. You hold on to conversations that ended years ago, mistakes that have already taught you their lesson, and fears that have never come true. Overthinking keeps reopening files that were meant to be closed. And every time you reopen them, you relive the pain as if it is happening again. Letting go is not denial, it is acceptance. It is recognizing that some chapters are complete, even if they did not end the way you wanted. Wisdom lies in understanding the difference between what you can change and what you cannot. Overthinking blurs this line. It makes you believe that if you think long enough, worry hard enough, or analyze deeply enough, you can somehow change the outcome of the past or control the uncertainty of the future. But this is an illusion. There are things in life that are beyond your influence, and clinging to them only drains your peace. Letting go means you stop arguing with reality. Letting go also requires humility. It requires you to accept that you do not have all the answers, and that is okay. Overthinking often comes from the ego's desire to be in control, to be right, to prevent failure at all costs. But wisdom understands that growth comes from experience, not perfection. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to outgrow people, situations, and even old versions of yourself. Letting go creates space for this growth to happen. There is strength in choosing peace over pride. Sometimes you overthink because you want closure, validation, or an apology that may never come. You replay scenarios hoping for a different ending. But strength is realizing that your healing does not depend on someone else's actions or words. You do not need everyone to understand you in order to move forward. Letting go is choosing your well-being over the need to be understood by everyone. Overthinking feeds on resistance. The more you resist what has already happened, the more power it holds over you. Letting go breaks this cycle. When you accept what is, your mind no longer needs to fight it. This acceptance does not mean you agree with what happened or that it did not hurt. It simply means you stop allowing it to control your present. Letting go also applies to expectations. Many people overthink because they are attached to how things should be. When reality does not match those expectations, frustration and anxiety take over. Letting go means allowing life to unfold in ways you did not plan, without constantly punishing yourself or others for it. Flexibility is a form of strength. The ability to adapt is far more powerful than the need to control. When you let go, you free mental and emotional energy. That energy can then be used to build, create, and move forward. Overthinking consumes energy without producing results. Letting go redirects the energy toward actions that actually improve your life. You become lighter, more focused, and more present. Letting go also strengthens trust. You begin to trust that even if things do not go according to plan, you will still be okay. This trust reduces fear and calms the mind. You stop bracing for impact at every turn. You stop assuming the worst. You allow yourself to breathe. It takes courage to let go because it requires vulnerability. You must accept uncertainty. You must face the fear of the unknown without constantly trying to control it. But this courage builds resilience. Each time you let go and survive, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your fears. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you care wisely. You stop investing emotional energy in things that harm your peace. You set boundaries with your thoughts. You choose where your attention goes. This choice is a powerful act of self-respect. Over time, letting go becomes a habit. You stop clinging to every thought, every worry, every imagined outcome. You allow thoughts to come and go without attachment. This does not make you careless, it makes you free. Wisdom understands that holding on too tightly can break you, while letting go can heal you. Strength understands that peace is not found in control, but in surrender. And when you embrace letting go, overthinking loses its grip, and your mind finally learns to rest. Inner calm does not arrive when life becomes perfect. It arrives when you learn to distinguish between what is within your control and what never was. Overthinking blurs this boundary. It convinces you that everything depends on you, that every outcome must be managed, and that every uncertainty is a threat. This belief places an impossible burden on the mind. Peace begins the moment you recognize that you were never meant to control everything, only to respond wisely to what is placed in your hands. Much of the anxiety people carry comes from trying to control things that are uncontrollable, other people's choices, past mistakes, future outcomes, timing, and circumstances beyond their reach. The mind keeps spinning because it is fighting reality. It keeps asking questions that have no answers yet and demanding guarantees that life cannot give. This internal resistance creates tension. Calm cannot exist where there is constant resistance. Surrender is often misunderstood. It does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means accepting reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. It means acknowledging this part is beyond me and releasing the need to mentally wrestle with it. Surrender is an act of intelligence. It saves your energy for where it truly matters. When you stop fighting what you cannot change, your mind becomes quieter almost immediately. Inner calm begins when you stop trying to rewrite the past. The past is fixed, yet overthinking keeps dragging you back, convincing you that if you analyze it one more time, you might change how it feels. But the past cannot be edited through thought. What can be changed is how you carry it. Surrendering the past means allowing it to be a teacher, not a jailer. You take the lesson and leave the pain behind. The same applies to the future. You can plan, prepare, and make wise decisions, but you cannot control outcomes. Overthinking tries to leap ahead, predicting every possible scenario. This creates fear instead of readiness. Acting on what you can control means focusing on effort, not outcome. You show up, you try, you stay consistent, and you let results unfold as they will. This approach brings calm because your peace is no longer tied to things outside your influence. There is relief in doing what you can and letting the rest go. When you act on what is within your control, you regain a sense of agency. You stop feeling helpless. Even small actions, making a decision, setting a boundary, taking a step forward, ground you. They pull you out of mental loops and into real life. Action quiets the mind because it replaces endless thinking with purposeful movement. Inner calm also grows when you accept that uncertainty is not a flaw in life. It is a feature of it. Overthinking treats uncertainty as an emergency. Calmness treats it as a companion. You learn to walk with uncertainty instead of trying to eliminate it. You stop demanding certainty before you move forward. This shift alone frees you from constant mental strain. When you surrender control, you also surrender unrealistic expectations of yourself. Overthinking often comes from believing you must get everything right, never fail, and never disappoint. This pressure suffocates peace. Acting on what you can control means doing your best with sincerity, not perfection. You allow yourself to be human. You understand that mistakes are part of progress, not proof of inadequacy. Inner calm deepens when you realize that not every problem requires an immediate solution. Some things unfold with time. Overthinking rushes the process. Surrender trusts it. You learn patience. You stop forcing clarity and allow it to arrive naturally. This patience is calming because it removes urgency from every thought. Letting go of control also improves your relationships. When you stop trying to control how others think, feel, or act, you experience less disappointment and resentment. You communicate clearly, set healthy boundaries, and release the rest. This emotional maturity creates peace because you are no longer carrying emotional responsibility for everyone around you. Acting on what you can control also means choosing your response. You may not control what happens, but you control how you react. You control your words, your attitude, and your choices. When you focus here, you regain stability. Overthinking loses its power because you are no longer trying to control the uncontrollable. You are mastering yourself. Inner calm is built daily through this practice. Each time you notice your mind spiraling, you pause and ask, is this within my control? If it is, take action. If it is not, release it. This simple question brings clarity. It pulls you out of chaos and back into balance over time. This way of thinking reshapes your inner world. You become calmer, not because life is easy, but because you are no longer at war with it. You stop carrying weight that was never yours. You stop exhausting yourself mentally over things you cannot change. And in that space, calm naturally settles. Peace is not something you chase. It is something you allow. When you surrender control wisely and act where you truly can. This is where overthinking ends and inner calm begins.